How's it going, guys? I hope you're all doing well out there today, wherever you are in the world. And for today's video, we're going to have a look at possibly the very first Boss multi-effects pedal. If you haven't already, you'd be doing me a massive favour if you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, leave a like, leave a comment. It all helps push the channel forward and keeps me making content like this. What I've got in front of me today is my Boss BE5 guitar multi-effects pedal. And for a long time, I thought this was the first floor-based multi-effects unit that Boss made. While I was thinking about doing a video on this guy, I did a bit more research, and it possibly is still the first one, but I've found some information to the contrary. We're going to get a bit nerdy with it now. If you're a nerdy type and want this info, stick around. If not, I'll timestamp the demo of the BE5 for you. So Boss have got a lot of info out there about their compact pedal line. It's pretty easy to see when stuff was released and when it was discontinued, but the same can't be said for the multi-effects that they made. I wanted to confirm the date that the BE5 was made, and I couldn't find anything out there other than the manual. So I looked in the manual, and the trademark in there is marked 1989. When I looked at other multi-effects that they had out at the time, the Boss ME5, the manual is actually dated 1988, which would mean it actually came out prior to this, which I find a little bit strange, just based on when you look at the BE5, it seems like quite a natural progression. It's basically 4 of their pedals in one box, whereas the ME5 actually had MIDI and programming and things like that. Another factor that made me think that this was an earlier model to the ME5 was the ME5 is a metal enclosure and this is plastic. And that's very unusual for Boss because they like making rugged, roadworthy stuff. But for all I can see online, this did actually come after the ME5. The only thing I can possibly think is that the ME5 was introduced as the pro level multi-effects, and this was more of an entry level multi-effects. It's the only thing I can think that would account for how quickly they came out after each other and how different they are. With the information I have, the Boss ME5 comes out in late 1988. It includes 8 effects in it, but you can only use 5 simultaneously. You can do programming. It's got MIDI. I think you can do volume expression pedal and stuff like that. The drive circuits and the compressor are analog in it, which is quite cool. Then in 1989, Boss released the BE5. So that's this unit here. And what it is essentially is the CS3 compressor, the OS2 overdrive distortion, and what's interesting about that is the actual pedal version of the OS2 didn't come out until a year later, so this actually inspired that rather than the other way around. You've got a digital delay which is based on the DD2 and DD3, but there's actually some settings that aren't on either of those, so I wouldn't say that's exactly right. And the chorus is very similar to the CE2 circuit. So you've essentially got 4 Boss pedals stacked together, and you've got a simple noise gate in there as well. Also in 1989, from what I can tell, the BE5B comes out. So it's the bass version, and within it you've got a limiter, an overdrive and enhancer block, which again is quite interesting because that predates any bass overdrive that Boss made. You've got a 10-band graphic equalizer, and then a block which is delay, chorus and flanger all together. Because they're all time-based stuff, they worked out a way to do that. And then in 1990, Boss released the BE5M. I think I've got some notes down here. Yeah, the BE5M. So that was basically very much the same circuits that are in the BE5, but it allowed you to program combinations of those pedals, and it had 2 banks as well, and I think the effects loop was switchable. So this does have an effects loop on the back, which is positioned, it goes compressor, overdrive, noise gate, then the loop, then the delay, then the chorus. That was a very quick nerd out about the early history of the Boss multi-effects units. I'm such a nerd, this stuff really interests me, so I'm sorry if it doesn't you, but if you're a fellow nerd, I'm sure you'll appreciate it. The sound I had dialed up there in the intro was the compressor, the delay, and the chorus, and as you can tell, it doesn't struggle to sound 80s. It does that 80s kind of session sound really well. And we'll go through the blocks individually. So the chorus, like I said, heavily based on the Boss CS3. And this is the dry amp sound with just a little bit of reverb. With the compressor. So it adds a nice bit of squish and sustain. You can go crazy and ramp up the sustain to get even more squish. And if you lower the attack, you can go sort of similar to a Dyna comp. So it adds plenty of sustain. And it's got a tone control as well, which is nice for a compressor, because a compressor can sometimes suck a little bit of top end out. As you raise that tone as well, you get a nice little bit of boost for the amp. There's something for me, not being a tonal snob or anything, but analog compressors just do the business a lot better than digital ones for me. A bit more character. It just feels a bit more natural, so that's a great sounding compressor. Next up, we've got the overdrive distortion block. So again, like I said, this is what inspired the Boss OS2 that came out a few years later. You've got your level, tone, and drive, and then the color control goes from overdrive to distortion. So starting on the overdrive, everything at noon. Some of the buttons are a little bit temperamental. It's an old man now. The overdrive is quite full. A lot of the Boss overdrives that I've played before suck quite a lot of low end. This one isn't as bad. See how much gain's on tap? And then dialing it back for a lower gain thing. Nice full sounding overdrive, I like that. And then over to the distortion. Yeah, it's got the it's got the Boss DS1 kind of can sound like a wasp in a jam jar without too much tweaking. So taking the tone back, you can get a more usable, in my opinion, sound. my favourite thing in the world, but it does the thing. And what's cool is you can actually blend somewhere between the two. So this is overdrive, and then I'll blend in some distortions. So that's quite cool. It's sort of a secondary tone control. The delay in here, like I said, based on the DD3 circuit, I would say, looking at the insides as well. And don't talk over the trails. It's very clean and pristine. If I had to say anything about the tonality, perhaps it rolls off a little bit of low end on the repeats. You've got an abundance of times that you can have, all the way up to 1 second, I think. And you can also go super slow, so you can get kind of flangery ring mod type effects. And you can hear as I move the fine time knob around, it gives a very flanger sound, because that's basically what a flanger is. It ties that to the LFO. Manual flanging. So like, it's just a digital delay. It sounds really good. Like I said, maybe a little bit of low end roll off. The noise suppressor is just a simple noise gate with a threshold control. Works pretty well, but without other controls, it's, you know, it's not too precise, but it does the job if you want to just take off a little bit of noise at a gig. And then the chorus sound is super lush. It's very CE2. So even though it's only got 2 controls, there's some, you know, a nice variety of tones in there, but with the knobs just set straight up, you just get that instant 80s. And then obviously you can chain these blocks together in different combinations, so a nice clean sound with chorus. Adding in a bit of delay. Overdrive and delay for a bit of a lead sound. Then you can stack the compressor on top of that for even more sustain. Overdrive and chorus, it's not a sound I love, but it does get you to that place. Or if you're feeling like you need even more cheese, you can just turn on all the blocks for an 80s kind of studio lead sound. So that was a look at the Boss BE5 and a short history about the early Boss multi-effects pedals. If you've got any information about the effects units we were talking about today, about the release dates or anything I've missed, please leave it in the comments down below. Did you or do you have any of the units we were talking about today? Let me know. And I think that about sums it up. So have a fantastic week. I've got loads more videos coming up. I'm waiting on a few pedals to come from America. COVID and stuff is taking forever. But more stuff coming up, so please subscribe if you haven't. Have a great week, and I'll see you in another video. Cheers, guys.